Thanks, everybody. So I have a motto that I live by when it comes to dealing with people. There are two types of people in this world. Weird people and boring people. And nowhere is that more true than in my profession, working customer service. There's really like a unique bond between customer service employees. Everywhere you go, you can walk into any retail store anywhere in America and tell the employees there that you also work retail, and they will immediately relax around you and you'll start swapping stories about weird shit that's happened to you on the job. From the homeless man who pees on his money to the man tripping balls who sprayed himself with Raid in the parking lot to get rid of the bugs. Everybody who's worked customer service for any length of time has some kind of weird story about shit that's happened to them. So these are the two least boring people that I have met in my 10 years walking the fluorescent killing fields of retail. So one day I was working at this hardware store that I work at, and this very old man came in. He was about at least 80 years old, had a long, scraggly beard, didn't really seem to understand what was going on, couldn't form complete sentences. He was wearing a ratty t-shirt and baggy purple sweatpants. And I figured out that he wanted to buy a ball of string. So I helped him buy a ball of string, and then he wanted me to cut a length of that string off for him, about 3-4 feet long. And so I helped him do that, and then he took that piece of string and left the rest of the ball with me, and I saw him go outside and use that string to tie himself a belt for his baggy sweatpants. And then he comes back inside, and he looks up at me and says, "You're a good person." And he takes out a piece of paper from his pocket and hands it to me and says, "Show this to the others." And then he left, and I never saw him again. But I opened that piece of paper after he was gone, and it said in big block letters, "The Holy Ghost is the Ringo Starr of the Trinity." Holy shit, you guys! That is amazing! I wish I could have sat that guy down and listened to him talk about his life and what brought him to this point, because that would have made the best movie ever. Oh my God. But I'll never know, because I never saw him again, as you know. But the customers that you meet are not the best part of working retail. The best part of working retail is your coworkers. Because there is something about the constant, low-grade purgatory of dealing with people's entitled bullshit for a living that brings people together in a way that cannot be understood by outsiders. And that bond can even cross into management. My favorite coworker of all time was my old boss at King Soopers. His name was Doug. And when I started that job, I thought Doug hated my guts. He never had a nice thing to say to me. He was always very, short sentences, like didn't seem to give a fuck about me at all. But eventually I started to figure him out. He was a really nice guy. He had this weird quirk, which was the worse he treated you, the better he liked you. So once I figured that out, I decided to start talking back to him. And that kicked off an arms race going back and forth of abuse and obscenity that it went on for years. Like, for example, I would come in the mornings, and he would have opened the store and I'd come in, and the first thing he'd say to me when he walked in was, "Scott, if you fuck anything up today, I'm gonna skull fuck you to death." And that was just his way of saying good morning, okay? Like, he just didn't care. And the only thing he could say to that at that point is, "Yeah, if you can get it up, old man." That's just, so, and I'm not too proud to admit that I usually lost these battles of wits. Like, he had the sharpest tongue I've ever seen and a vocabulary blacker than the heart of a congressman. It was just, and I would provoke him just to see what he'd do to smack me down. I didn't care. For example, I'll "Hey Doug, why don't you go play hopscotch in a minefield?" "Oh yeah? Is that how you lost your left nut?" Or, "Hey Doug, you fill up your punch card at the whorehouse this week?" "No, your mother had the week off for another abortion." You know, I came in one day with a bandage on my hand for cutting myself, and he just looks at me and goes, "What's the matter? Did the goat fight back?" And the best part is, he has since been, I still keep in touch with this guy, even though I've left that job years ago. The best part is he's since been promoted, proving that the single most valuable asset in retail work is the ability to not give a single solitary fuck. Because otherwise it will kill your soul. So stay weird, Boulder. Stay weird. Have a good night, everybody.